Hey snowmobilers, I'm here in Crosby, Minnesota, former home to Scorpion snowmobiles and an iron ore deposit called the Cuyuna Iron Range. More importantly, I'm on my way to St. Cloud to see the new 2026 Polaris Indy snowmobiles. Let's go. All right, let's get into it. Today we're talking about the Polaris Trail snowmobiles, and I'll discuss crossover and utility sleds in other videos. Indy is a name that's been around for a long time and has always been used by Polaris for their best trail snowmobiles. I think it fits perfectly because the 2026 Indies are the best trail machines Polaris has ever made. When you go to the 2026 Polaris snowmobile webpage, the models are divided up by what kind of riding you do. I just published a video for people buying their first snowmobile, and in it I said that you should decide what kind of riding you wanted to do first, and this is a great example of why that's so important. When I click on the trail models, there are 4 listed. There are 2 missing, and I'll explain those in a minute, but first let's talk about what we see here. The Indy Adventure and Indy XC are similar enough that I think the main difference is whether you want to ride alone or with somebody else. The Indy XC is the sled that hauls the mail for Polaris. Whether you think XC stands for cross country or extra comfort, if these aren't the most popular, they should be. You get Fox QS3 shocks, which allows you to change the compression of the shocks with a dial on each one of the 4 shocks on a snowmobile. There are 3 settings, firm, medium, and soft, and this changes the compression of the shock, so the suspension acts stiffer or softer. You still need to adjust the springs to match your weight and riding style, but the shocks let you make additional changes on the fly as snow conditions change. I'm going to spend a little time on that because that's going to become important in a little bit. The Indy Adventure is the same, except it's designed for 2-up touring. You get the same shocks, but now you get a 7S display as standard equipment, an extra tunnel bag, and a rear seat. Moving up the line is the VR1, and really this is my favorite. The VR1 gets a 7S display and Walker Evans shocks, and the shocks are a little different. The way that they operate is a little different, and the way that you change the compression is a little different. With these being on the VR1, they're giving you a little bit better ride than an Indy XC or an Adventure without being too soft. Going one step further is the VR1 Dynamics. This is the only model in the Polaris lineup, the only one that includes the semi-active Dynamics electronic suspension. Just like the Fox and Walker Evans shocks, there's a customizable compression adjustment. The difference here is that you can make adjustments with a button, and the system automatically adjusts on the fly as you're riding. So it gives you what I consider car-like stability on a snowmobile for the very first time. It's really incredible. I have a video on that. I really like the Dynamics. It was just an amazing system. I think that's the best snowmobile ever made, but there's one more, and that's the Indy XCR. The XCR is a consumer-grade race machine. You get much better resistance to bottoming out thanks to a long tail rear suspension setup. This is the springs on the rear suspension, or a longer tail on the spring. For rough conditions, on or off trail, the XCR can take whatever you throw at it. It's designed for very aggressive riders. A lot of people like the XCR. Each model has different engine options, and if you spring order one, you can pick your color, track options, windshield, and virtually anything else in the Polaris accessory catalog. Some of these are only available when you spring order. For example, the XCR, certain engine choices, the VR1 Dynamics can only be ordered. Dealers will not be getting these for their showroom. If you want one, you need to order it. Right now is a snowmobile buyer's market. Dealers have carryovers in stock now and often have incredibly good deals on them. One of the best deals on a new snowmobile, especially for new riders, is an amazing machine called the Indy Sport. You won't find any of these in the list of 2026 machines, but that's because there's a good supply of 2025s in dealer inventory. The Indy Sport got a 550 fan-cooled engine. You know, they're not the fastest, but they're still Indies, and the prices are extremely reasonable on these. This is a really good deal, especially for first-time snowmobile buyers. One of the other Indies that you probably won't see on the website is the Indy SP. This is listed a little differently because it's not under the trail sleds, but the Indy SP is 100% a 2026 Indy, but it's just aimed at more budget-conscious buyers. When you see the name SP on any of the Polaris snowmobiles, regardless of model, you get a standard gauge, you do get electric start, and the Polaris patented smart handlebar warmers. It's the same basic sled as the Indy XC, except without the adjustable shocks. They use non-adjustable gas shocks on the SP. This is not a lower class machine. It simply has fewer options, and that drives the price down. The Indy SP comes with the 650 Patriot engine, which I think is, in my opinion, is Polaris's best engine. It's very smooth. It has plenty of power for those lake crossings when the rider ahead of you disappears in a cloud of snow dust. This is a really good year to be thinking about a new Polaris snowmobile. Not only are the XCR and VR1 incredible machines, but you have your pick of carryover new sleds in dealer inventory that are priced to sell. For those entering the world of snowmobiling, welcome. You have picked an incredible time to join us. Hey, I'm on my way back home. I thought that was interesting. You know, some stuff is not new. Other stuff is new. Overall, I think it's kind of a rebuilding year for Polaris. I hope you learned something. I certainly did. Thanks for watching. I hope I see you on the trail.